Viewer discretion is advised.
So, according to the Department of Justice, quote, stalking is a pattern of repeated and unwanted attention, harassment, contact, or any other course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to feel fear, end quote. Right off the bat, I want to note that fear isn't the only reaction that one can have if they're being stalked, the only valid reaction. A victim might also feel anxious, nervous, isolated, stressed, or develop signs of depression.
Yeah, because it's real up and freaky.
And stalking behaviors almost always escalate, so don't take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
Yeah,
Take it very seriously.
Don't just like poo-poo it, especially if it's like this repeated pattern.
Y'all, my case, I can't.
Yeah, same.
Have you...
The amount of poo-pooing of stalking is f***ing egregious.
Oh, my case, people took it pretty seriously, but also the victim is a man, so...
They did not take... No one fucking took it seriously in my case.
Have you ever seen the show on Netflix called I Am a Stalker?
No.
I watched one episode,
It's
and
really
I
scary.
I can't watch it.
Is it a docuseries?
Yes.
Okay. From the perspective of the stalker?
They interview
Both.
convicted... Well, yeah, and victims, but...
Victims and convicted stalkers. Like jailhouse interviews, and like without fail, the person in jail was just like, oh, I mean, I guess
They were in
technically
love
it
with
was
me, I
stalking,
thought.
but I didn't. Like,
Weird.
yeah.
I feel like there's a whole side of Netflix that I need to unlock.
Oh, the true crime side of Netflix is dark, babe.
I love it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
They're clearly trying to compete with Hulu,
Yeah.
and they've got some real creepy stuff out there.
Raw
Real
stuff.
creepy.
Speaking of Hulu, and hashtag not an ad, but this, my case is kind of gives off the patient vibes.
No. Really? Ooh.
That was
Yeah.
stalking and kidnapping
Yeah.
and false imprisonment.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay, stalking behaviors constitute one form of intimate partner violence and are interrelated to harassment and intimidation. The term stalking is used with some differing definitions in psychiatry and psychology, as well as in some legal jurisdictions as a term for a criminal offense. Similar to crimes of sexual violence, stalking is about power and control, which we'll talk a little bit more later in my segment.
Great.
This, I thought, was really fascinating. The word stalking being used for this particular type of behavior wasn't actually in wide usage until the 1990s.
Yep.
Really?
We'll kind of get to it, actually.
So
In my
previously,
case.
people used terms like female harassment, obsessive following, or psychological rape.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Jesus.
Yeah, I actually wrote Jesus into my
Oh.
notes.
It's just like,
Jesus.
we don't take it seriously. And by we, I don't mean like us as individuals.
Society.
But society does not take this seriously enough now. But the fact that we had like no laws about it until the 90s, y'all.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law was briefly stalked.
Ugh.
Luckily, I think I've talked about this on the show before, and I got her permission to talk about it because, like,
That's very traumatic.
it was traumatic, but also it wasn't. It ended. Let's put it that way. Like it wasn't like that ongoing and disruptive to her life. But
I mean, thank God.
thank goodness.
Seriously.
And sometimes it really is and really can be, but just in her particular case, it wasn't. But she found out that her stalker had previously and for years and years very persistently stalked Jennifer Aniston.
Makes sense. They're basically twins.
And so, yeah, so she
Flattery?
Exactly. She would sometimes make the joke that, like, well,
Well,
at least he has
I
good
was stalked by
taste.
the same person who stalked Jennifer Aniston.
At least he has good taste.
taste.
Oh my God.
Not to make a joke. I mean, she was making
She's allowed to make that
She's
joke
allowed to.
because it was her experience.
Right.
And she's in a fortunate position not to have been irrevocably harmed by that
Right.
situation.
Right.
So,
Oh, Jerry.
Yep.
God love her.
Yep.
Well, okay. I'm glad that it didn't escalate beyond
Mm-hmm.
something she couldn't handle.
Yeah, because we probably wouldn't have Sonia. So
I think
I'm
the
also
reason
really
the reason it didn't continue to escalate was because the stalker faced fucking consequences. I think
Mhm.
maybe for some other crimes he had committed and was put away.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, from safehorizon.org, in the United States, approximately 7.5 million people are stalked every year. This number I've seen fluctuate throughout different articles that I looked at.
Every year?
Every year. I saw something as high
My
as
eye is
13 million.
Well, it's a very, very, like you said just before, it's a very common part of intimate partner violence and domestic abuse.
Also,
So I
I'm
feel
sure
like-
goes underreported. There's kind of like gray area. It's
Mhm.
a spectrum.
Right. So if you're just thinking of like stranger stalking,
Right.
that's probably a much smaller subset.
Well, Kenny has no idea how many times I drive past her house, so she can't even
Right.
report
Well,
my stats.
my next sentence
I can smell
actually
it.
is most stalking is done by someone known to the victim, such as a current or former business partner. Just kidding. Regular partner.
Podcast host.
Me, hi, I'm the stalker, it's me.
Oh, no. But some victims also are stalked by complete strangers.
Mm-hmm.
According to the CDC, about 1 in 6 women and 1 in 17 men will experience stalking at some point in their lifetime.
Wow.
1 in 6 women. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
That's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, this is from RAIN.org. Stalking laws and definitions differ from state to state. Stalking behavior can take many forms, including making threats against someone or that person's family or friends, non-consensual communication, such as repeated phone calls, emails, text messages, and unwanted gifts.
Check.
Could also be them like stealing a person's
Mhm.
possession, like digging through their trash and taking their things. But
My
but
My guy
it's not
is
the same as
checking
like
every
theft.
single one of
Same.
these boxes. Yeah.
Same
Ugh.
It does seem like a very
pattern full.
patterned, like it's like a playbook.
Yeah.
It feels like and obviously there are going to be some variations, but almost every stalking case you read about, they follow like the same fucking pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it's so gross.
Also, repeated physical or visual closeness, like waiting for someone to arrive in certain locations, like always knowing where they're going to be at certain times, following
Getting to
them,
work early to make sure you're there when they get there.
Mhm. Or watching someone from a distance. Also, any behavior used to contact, harass, track, or threaten someone.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have cyber stalking as its own category. We could do
Yeah.
cyber stalking as its own episode too.
Absolutely, we could. It's nuts.
So the broad term, a broad term related to cyber stalking is use of technology to stalk. So I think in like laws,
Sure.
like
Mhm.
legal stuff,
They
that's
have
what
to
the term they
separate
use. Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So some examples of this include persistently sending unwanted communication through the internet, such as spamming someone's email inbox or social media platform.
So
Posting
me to like the host of the dollop, basically,
Yes.
just being
you
like,
are definitely
this
stalking
joke
the
on
dollop
today's
guys.
episode was so funny.
Oh my god, do you do
This
that?
joke was so yes, I can't help it. Sometimes it's really funny.
Or on the other end of that spectrum.
Do they reply?
Sometimes, but usually not.
Kenyon!
I love that podcast. Okay.
We know.
And recently they talked about someone and their last name was Kenyon. And
Oh, so you felt really special.
so they were
That
talking
they were almost
to
saying
me.
They were shouting
saying
you
your
out.
name.
Right.
They were
on
shouting you out.
some may stalk and send creepy messages due to an intense love. Others, like my fiance, may stalk and send messages to a podcast. Maybe that podcast is Comedy Bang Bang, and maybe he's getting really annoyed with how crappy the ad reads are for Thomas's English muffins, and he's so upset about it that it's making him not want Thomas's English muffins, even though he loves Thomas's English muffins. So he writes a strongly worded email to Comedy Bang Bang to complain about how bad those ad reads are.
No.
So that he can fall in love with
William.
Thomas's English muffins.
First
Maybe.
of all,
I mean, just spitballing. Just
First of all,
spitballing.
I did not know that Thomas's English Muffins buys ad reads on podcasts. I'm going to have to pitch to them.
Please,
She's
because
writing it down.
she is writing it down.
I am.
Because I do love Thomas's English muffins. And we will crush those ad reads, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
On a similar note, Corey bought a box of they were Klondike bars that had Heath chunks in it,
Yum.
which sounded amazing. He bought it, brought it home, ate one.
Oh, I forgot about
There's no
that.
Heath in this. Ate another one. There's no Heath in this. There was no Heath in any of them. So he wrote
But
them
they
a
were
letter.
labeled Heath.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
even the plastic packaging on each individual bar was marked Heath.
I mean,
So he wrote them a letter.
Did
And they
respond?
sent him a single coupon for a single box of free Klondike bars.
didn't your husband also send beer money
To Post
to
Malone.
Post Malone after his breakup?
He sent him a $20 bill and like a 3-page handwritten letter. Haven't heard back yet.
So, we all have our thing.
Yeah.
We all have our things.
Okay, well, we're talking about our husband's weird things.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
okay. Okay.
So, Zach is obsessed with the TV show Prison Break.
Is he French?
No.
All French people love that fucking show too. How many times can you break out of prison?
He broke into prison, too. Don't forget about that.
Oh, okay.
So anyway,
Oh, I'm fucking losing it.
so I've told the story on the show before about when he saw the actor who portrays the character Sucre at an event. And
Oh
he
my
lost
God.
his damn mind. And he totally accidentally cock-blocked Sucre. So
Zach.
we were at this, whatever, doesn't matter. Long story short, we're at this like party that we had no business being at with all these like actual celebrities, the lowest tier of which was Sucre. And he
From Prison
like
Break.
he had not worked in several years.
A minute.
And he was flirting with these two like models,
Oh, yeah,
And-
Sucre. Shoot your shot.
shooting his shot, and Zach saw him from across the room and went,
No.
"This party is star fucking studded."
Jesus.
And then he made a beeline for Sucre, and then the models had to like you could see the like disappointment in this man's face. And the models like evaporated, and Zach was just talking his ear off about how excited. Okay, so that was one time that he expressed his love
There's
of Prison
another?
Break. So then recently, this was like 10 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Then when we were in Chicago, at one point, he like took Sonia for the afternoon or whatever so I could finish my notes. And he came back and he had gone to the top of some building that was like the building from which Schofield, like the opening shot of Prison Break, Schofield like stood there and like tossed his plans into the river.
He took your
What?
baby to a rooftop without you?
To like a building, not like an open roof.
He just broke into a residential rooftop
I don't
to
know how he
recreate this
got there.
opening
He
shot
got to
from
some
Prison Break.
building, and like it was the exact angle, and he was showing me the screenshot, the still shot of Prison Break, and being like, "This is where Schofield stood and threw the blah 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 into the river," and you can see because the angle of this building is
No.
the same.
No. 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 Zach. I'm sorry. You have to get divorced. Like, this is not right. I'm afraid. Something is off. I'm like, my
Something is
spidey
off.
senses. No.
My Spidey said, "You think 14 years later, like
Yeah, this is it. Something's changed. You do have all those chemicals in the Ohio River now. So,
Yeah.
like, has he been drinking the fucking tap water?
yeah.
Have you?
Zach! Yeah, have you? Is that why you're just okay with this?
Maybe he's just
You're
low
just
on
going with
Thomas's
it?
English muffins. Maybe that's the problem.
I would take angry English muffin stalker over I'm going to break onto this rooftop with my infant child.
We've all made our choices.
Okay, I'm
Calling Zach after this episode.
He'll be so
Sir.
excited to tell you all about it.
Oh my God, I've never seen a single episode of Prison Break,
No,
and
you're
I'd
right,
love to
he
keep it that
will.
way.
He will. He'll just tell me everything, and I'll
Oh,
just
yeah.
want to die the whole time.
He'll send you all the screenshots. He'll
All right, I'm
explain
not
how
calling
he
Zach. No,
found it on the map.
Don't call Zach.
it's not worth it. You're on your own. It's not fucking worth it. I can't. I love him, but I can't.
No.
Not doing
There's
it.
a line.
Yeah, my love is very conditional. Extremely conditional.
Okay, back to cyber stalking.
Oh, right.
Okay, another example would be posting threatening or personal information about someone on public internet forums,
Doxing.
Yeah.
video voyeurism, or installing video cameras that give the stalker access to someone's personal life.
Yeah. Very
Um,
scary.
True Crime Obsessed just covered this documentary that I hadn't seen before. Speaking of Netflix going to the dark side on their true crime, The Most Hated Man on the Internet.
I've
have
heard
you
of
seen
it,
this?
but I haven't seen it.
I've seen
Y'all.
all this shit. I love it.
It's so wild what that motherfucker does and gets away with for
Yep.
so long with just posting nudes that he got by hacking into people's emails and then adding their direct social media handles, Facebook,
Mhm.
identifying information of them. They have no idea that this stuff's getting posted out there. People are losing their jobs.
Mhm.
It's like
Oh, I think I saw an SVU episode that was based on
definitely
that.
based on him. This
Yeah.
guy, I had never heard of him because this was kind of going really crazy like when we were entering the workforce for real. So we just were not as glued to social media
Yeah.
as people like 3 years younger than us. We're in
Yeah.
like that perfect window, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that documentary is nuts. If you have not watched it, watch The Most Hated Man on the Internet and then listen to the True Crime Obsessed 2-part recap of it because it's extremely funny. But like the show is fucked up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The real life actions are really scary.
So bad. So
Um,
bad.
Also using GPS or other software tracking systems to monitor someone without their knowledge or consent, or using someone's computer and or spyware to track their computer activity. And now it's my turn for a quick anecdote.
Ooh,
there's a-
what did you do?
Local business owner here in Des Moines. This is all going down like now. And I don't have all the information, and I also don't want to get like sued for libel or whatever, but
So allegedly.
this fucking dickface Steve McFadden allegedly put a tracking device on his ex-girlfriend's car
Mhm.
Mhm, very common.
and was
Yep.
following her around. And then he went to jail for that, and among other things. He beat her up and like all sorts of stuff.
oh
So
my God.
he was in jail, so he got one of his buddies, who's another local fucking business owner, to then log into the GPS tracking shit so his friend could stalk her on his behalf.
Oh my
Mhm.
God.
Allegedly.
Friends don't help friends stalk.
No.
Mhm.
So there's like 6 restaurants in Des Moines, bars and restaurants that are owned by these two fuckers. So
Yeah.
so do your research. Yeah. and
Can
don't
you
go there.
get a stalking charge, like a cyber stalking charge, only for getting caught planting the GPS then? Could that be like a stacked charge?
Probably.
or like if you're caught like logging in and actually monitoring it.
Sure. Not just the placement, but actually accessing the information.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
because the second guy, the buddy, is now also in trouble for that, even though he wasn't the one, I don't think, that put the tracker on the car.
I bet just the placement could count as a charge.
I think it could, depending on,
It's
yeah,
probably
because
both.
it indicates intent.
yeah.
It's probably both, but
Okay, another quick anecdote.
oh my God, this is going to be such a long.
But it's good. It's a good
We're
one.
women. What are you going to do? We have a lot to say about stalking.
Yeah, that's
a
true.
lot of connections to stalking and Thomas's English muffins.
I can say that. I think this is fine to say. I'll put allegedly at the top. Allegedly, some elementary schoolers at a school that Zach may or may not work at, parents have started to, because they're elementary schoolers, so they don't they're not really ready for smartphones yet, but
Yeah,
parents
that's too much internet.
right. So, but their parents want to have some way to like keep track of them in case they're kidnapped, God forbid, or something, right?
Jitterbug, baby.
Get your kids chipped.
Well, they don't want to chip them, but they still want something for safety for these little kids. And so a lot of parents have started to buy Apple AirTags
Yeah.
and put them in the kids' backpacks.
Mm-hmm.
So some 4-year-olds or whatever in the pre-K program, their parents got them these Apple AirTags, and the parents were like tracking it, whatever, just like logging in and kind of glancing.
Make sure they get on the bus. And
yeah,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
exactly.
I would do the same. I'd get my kid chipped like a fucking dog.
That's what I'm saying. Chip them.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So then they picked up their kid, and their kid was at home, and then for some reason they got like a ping or like an alert that the Apple AirTag was somewhere else.
Oh no.
And they were like, but my kid is here with me. And then they're like, and over the weekend, they're like watching this AirTag like
But the
move
backpack
about.
had come back as well.
The backpack was
Okay.
back. The kid was back. No
The tag is gone.
The tag is living its life, bouncing around. And finally, they're like, realized to like ask the 4-year-old, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I traded that for a shiny rock."
Yes.
So the kids
I
were
was going to
just
say he probably traded it for something.
That's the most Lucy. I traded that useless disc
yeah,
for a shiny
it
rock.
looks like a shiny rock, so I traded it for a different shiny rock that I wanted.
Amazing.
My rock tumbler rocks are almost done, by the way. Speaking of shiny
I
rocks.
can't wait to see them.
They look so good.
What was that noise?
I'm excited.
All right. Okay.
That's adorable.
Okay, are we ready to
Did they get it
move on?
Okay, good.
This is from
But they were
psychology.
accidentally stalking like somebody else's 4-year-old. Basically all weekend. Not knowing. Like totally not meaning to.
Okay, from Psychology Today. Stalking encompasses a desire to exert control over a victim. That drive could emerge from a romantic relationship, for instance, warding off suitors or trying to win over a new partner. It could arise from a fantasy of a relationship formed entirely in a person's mind, such as in the
Yup.
case of celebrity stalking, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. Mental health conditions often appear in those who become stalkers. Research suggests that half of one sample of stalkers had a disorder such as antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder.
Interesting.
And borderline is particularly prominent in women stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know a whole lot about like these diagnoses. So I found out that people with borderline personality disorder often feel intense anxiety about being separated or abandoned by the people they care about. So they may go to extreme lengths to prevent that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Perpetrators are often motivated to control, humiliate, frighten, manipulate, embarrass, or take revenge on the victim.
Yes.
Even if no slight actually occurred. Like it can be
Correct.
like completely fabricated.
In their head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here's a fun fact. Research indicates that female stalkers, although they're fewer in numbers, they more frequently commit threats, verbal abuse, property damage, theft, and physical harm more often than male stalkers do.
I can see that.
So there are fewer female stalkers,
I
but
dug my key into the side of his pretty little souped up 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Carved my
One
name
could
into
say
his
they're
leather seat.
a little more intense
I took
on
a
average.
Louisville slugger with both
Okay.
hand
Oh,
flats.
right. Okay. A 2000 paper titled A Study of Stalkers, love and alliteration, identified 5 types of stalkers. So the first one is rejected stalkers. So they follow their victims in order to reverse, correct, or avenge a rejection. So for example,
Correct.
a divorce, a separation, being fired from their job, something like that.
Being told no when you ask someone out.
Yeah, that is a rejected stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have resentful stalkers who make a vendetta because of a sense of grievance against the victims, motivated mainly by the desire to frighten and distress them.
So these stack for sure.
There's a lot of
my guy,
overlap.
was a rejected stalker who then became a resentful stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then we have intimacy seekers who seek to establish an intimate, loving relationship with their victim. Such stalkers often believe that the victim is a long sought after soulmate and that they were, quote unquote, meant to be together.
Mhm.
Then we have incompetent suitors.
This is my guy for sure.
So these people, despite poor social or courting skills, have a fixation or in some cases a sense of entitlement to an intimate relationship with those who have attracted their amorous interest.
Incels.
Yep.
Mhm.
Their victims are most often already in a dating relationship with somebody else.
Mhm.
And then we have predatory stalkers who spy on the victim in order to prepare and plan an attack, often sexual, on the victim.
Yep. This guy, my guy checks like every single one of these almost. That's so fucked up.
I feel like my stalker is female. I feel like she falls into resentful
Mm-hmm.
and maybe incompetent.
I almost covered another case of a female stalking situation among like younger teens, and that was definitely like resentful.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much steeped in jealousy, and it's like your hormones are so crazy, and then on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
you have some of these very predatory tendencies. I didn't end up covering that, but it was fascinating. Definitely different if we're talking on the binary. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like a very different pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a sixth type of stalker.
Oh.
So the 2002 National Victim Association Academy defines an additional and sixth form of stalking, and that is the vengeance or terrorist stalker.
Oof.
Both the vengeance stalker and terrorist stalker, or the terrorist stalker is sometimes called the political stalker, do not, in contrast with some of the aforementioned types of stalkers, seek a personal relationship with their victims, but rather force them to emit a certain response. While the vengeance stalker's motive is to get even with the other person whom they perceive has done some wrong to them. So, for example, an employee who believes they were fired without justification from a job by a superior. So while they are getting even, the political stalker intends to accomplish a political agenda, also using threats and intimidation to force the target to refrain or become involved in some particular activity regardless of the victim's consent.
So those jagweeds who threaten to like
Blow up abortion
kidnap-
clinics.
Well, that, but also kidnap the governor of Michigan or whatever.
Yep.
They could totally fall under something like
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
All the like
So-
people who like threaten AOC and yeah.
Yep. Wow.
So
yeah.
most prosecutions in this stalking category have been against anti-abortionists who stalk doctors in an attempt to discourage the performance of abortions.
This is blowing my mind because I'm also thinking back to our like Hashinations episode
Yeah.
Mhm.
or like political assassination attempts or successes. A lot of times, if they catch the person who did it, but they will absolutely show these kinds of traits.
Yep.
Mhm.
This is so interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm like, I hate it, and it's very fascinating.
Mhm.
I feel like I might have cut this part, but another flavor of stalking would be for the purpose of like a hired hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you're tracking
is-
someone's movements repeatedly, but you're
It's for a very specific intention.
it's more like an extrinsic motivation where you're
Yeah, it's
doing
not
it
like
for like a job.
infatuation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Okay.
but
Like
a person
stalking, literally stalking prey.
but
right.
a person in certain circumstances or areas that could be a stalking charge.
Mm.
Mhm.
So here's a little bit about celebrity stalking. In social media and influencer culture, it's beneficial for celebrities to make their followers feel close to them.
Mhm.
This can obviously backfire in a stalking incident, which could be the result of a variety of factors. They may seek attention from the celebrity and become resentful when they don't receive it. They may attempt to genuinely court the target. I really thought your joke was funny.
I thought you said my name on your show and you wanted me to email you.
I didn't think they were communicating with me.
I know you're trying to reach me, Dollar.
Has your neighbor's dog been talking to you lately?
I do know that.
Josie's
But the
whispering to her.
coincidence was interesting to me.
Okay.
I can't wait to get alerted that the dollop has filed a restraining order against us.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.